So televisions, computers are not necessarily evil, yeah, but they do seem to pack a...
Depends what's on them.
Okay. But they do sort of like pack a wallop for some people. So why is that, Simon?
Anything electrical does.
Yeah, the problem with those things is because rather than other electrical items is because we tend to sit in front of them for a long period of time,
Right.
not doing anything else other than focusing on that machine.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem with those things.
Yeah.
You know, there's very few other electrical appliances that you are in contact with continually for more than 10 minutes, a quarter of an hour, something like that. But with a television or computer, you can be on there for hours.
Right.
The problem with all electromagnetic stuff is entrainment.
Right.
Entrainment is when your own electromagnetic energies start to take on the qualities of a stronger field, or absorb the qualities of a stronger field.
Yeah.
So your field begins to resonate to the frequencies of the electromagnetic field that you're in. So that just disrupts the natural function of the body on every level, because there's nothing other than electromagnetic radiations. I mean, that's what energy is, electromagnetic radiations.
Yeah.
This also means that you get addicted to the thing that you're becoming trained to. So you get addicted to your TV, to your computer, or to your telephone. Or
Because one of the things that I didn't really get until I read this is that the body is actually very efficient at using electricity. It doesn't actually need to use that much.
No.
Whereas all the objects around us actually need a lot of electricity to actually function.
Yeah.
So they're in a sense louder than we are.
And also the frequencies tend to be very focused and fixed. They don't vary.
Yeah.
Whereas in the body there'll be natural fluctuations depending on what's required.
Yeah. So the fact that they need to be louder and of a different frequency means that's why our bodies sort of like get swamped by these
yes,
things.
they get sort of sucked in, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's a good strategy for dealing with this then?
Well, the thing for anything in your home is, as best you can, is don't leave anything on standby.
Right.
Switch things off. And if you are able to unplug from the wall, you can't always do that. But because until you unplug from the wall, the residual charge around that item doesn't actually dissipate.
Right.
And so that's something, and I mean, certainly it would be very difficult today. I mean, a lot of children, for example, have TVs in their rooms and things like that, or clock radios next door to their beds and things like that, and they're all giving off fields.
Yeah.
And
the thing with fields, they're not a problem until they're a problem.
yeah. All the time you're healthy, you're well fed, and you're not emotionally or mentally stressed, you're going to be able to withstand being in electromagnetic fields. But when the immune system starts to get a bit iffy, or you get very, very stressed, or you become ill, then it's harder for your body to withstand those.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that, for example, if you suffer from allergies, you're more likely to get electric shocks off car doors or supermarket trolleys or radiators, because your electromagnetic field is disrupted by, it's a sign of you're having food allergies or an allergic reaction, because it shows the disruption. And it also shows how easy it is for the body to be further disrupted.
Yeah. I did notice that at work when they installed the wireless network.
Yeah.
So the people who were a bit on the edge got even more knocked over.
Yeah.
They were under pressure, but they got pushed even more over.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like there's more noise. There's more white noise.
Yeah.
Just noise, chaotic noise in the environment at that energetic level. So those who are already slightly noisier than others will find that more off balancing.
Yeah. And it also it's one of those things where I'm perfectly fine with it, so therefore it's doesn't exist. You say you've got a problem, but I'm perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
It comes back to this constitution thing.
That's right, and it's like, you know, and obviously some people are really, really strong, but then you hear of people that they start to fall in with it, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and it's very hard to pull people back.
Yeah.
Once they, you know, particularly if you're living in a city, you know, and you've not only got all the proximity of all the Wi-Fi's and everything else and all the electricity and what have you, and you've got, you know, down in Devon you've got your police Tetra radio system and all that sort of thing all going on. I mean, it's a complete soup.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes when I drive out of London now, I can feel it in my ears, and it feels like I can feel the energy changing, and it sort of like goes, and then you get a bit further out, and it's like, and it's almost like it's just coming down or something. Yeah.
So there's the switching things off.
Yes.
And unplugging if possible.
Yeah.
If you switch off at the plug, is that the same as
unplug? You need to
not,
unplug.
No.
You
That's the thing. The field is still there. It's
you
not.
have to
It's
break
not
the
the
actual
field.
circuit.
You have to break the circuit.
The current isn't flowing, but the field is still there. It's only when you take it out of the plug.
They actually break it.
And of course, the same thing goes when the things are out of the plug, but the plug is on. The plug hasn't been turned off.
Right.
If you get electricity leaking into the room, you don't actually, but you know, it's that sort of like Wives' Tale thing. The turn.
Yeah.
It is actually having an effect because you haven't closed off the circuit.
Yeah.
So it does create a.
Because we switch everything off at the plug, but we don't necessarily take the plugs.
I must admit, we've got so few plugs in this house anyway that, I mean, like down here, we've got one plug that has to stay in, but the other one gets pulled out at night.
Right.
You know, to give it chance for the residue to go.
So, next question, taking it to the next stage, is that you have people who say, right, I'll put a crystal on my computer and it will absorb the electromagnetics or that sort of stuff. Is there any truth to that?
Well, it will, but poor old crystal, you know, it's like, God, you'd have to clean it.
Yeah.
There are more efficient ways of doing it than using a crystal.
Okay. Crystals work partially physically because they tend to have points, and points tend to have a
flow,
discharge. And tend to give out negative ions, and whereas most residual electromagnetic stuff, the problem is with positive ions, so it's a neutralising thing. But energetically, it's a constant field like that really tires.
Yeah. I mean, the bottom line really is these days, I mean, it's worse than even when you two were taught. These days, you can't really fix your environment very well. You've got to fix you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, if you have total control over an environment, you know, like no one else in the house who wins, you've got to, then fine, you can actually do something. But even
then, you've got next door.
And you've got next door, and if you're in a modern house, you've got a ring main, which the older houses, like you live in, we don't have. They don't have those. Modern houses will have ring mains, and it's almost impossible to deal with it. So you're left with, I can fix my environment a little bit, but I really do need to fix and protect me. Yeah.
So that takes us to the lodestones.
It takes us to. Well, you mean the spinning loads?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, different ways of using the lodestones. So something we found in courses is that, you know, you say, oh, and we're doing it for the electromagnetics, but how they come out the other side, you know, is more grounded, more focused.
Yeah,
you realise how. I
mean, we were describing. We must have been in Kuwait. We were describing what we call the hairdryer trick.
Yeah.
Because even when you're away in a hotel, there's usually a hairdryer. Yeah. You know, and just saying to them about turn the hairdryer around and do massaging with the electric motor.
That's what they call degaussing.
Degaussing. You know, and that's the same. It's like, you know, hello. You know, and it's just knowing lots of. A bit like protection and support, knowing lots of different things, but there are particular things like lodestone that are very good at basically doing the degauss, which is really what you're after.
Yeah. So having like lodestone or the hairdryer is basically supporting you on a constant basis.
Yeah, because basically what it's doing is it's stopping the entrainment.
Yeah.
It breaks the entrainment.
And it's something you need to do on a regular basis.
Yes, it's not something you can do and think, all right, that's it, I've done it.
Yeah.
No, you'd have to keep on doing it.
Mm.
Yeah.
So if you had somebody who has, well, let's say a serious illness or something that's chronic or something like that, would it be one of the things that you may want to check on?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the classic thing. I mean, David Tansley, who died some time ago, he always said is when there is environmental stress, energy therapies don't work so well.
Mm.
You know, it's harder to use vibrational healing.
Mm.
You need to deal with it.
Yeah.
And the classic thing is, you know, if somebody's chronically ill, they tend to be therefore housebound.
Yeah.
So, and it's like the person who says, I feel lousy when I'm at home, when I go on holiday I feel brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, it's all these little sort of telltales.
Sometimes, though, I think people get entrainments from the people they're living with.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you know, it
exactly the same
it
sort of thing,
seems
because you've got a
sometimes
stronger energy and a weaker
when
energy.
you do the electromagnetic stuff, it works really well with relationships as well.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
seems it
yeah.
just helps cut that off.
But if you think about it, it's helping you to be energetically independent,
Mm.
you know, or integrated,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you're not got that.
Constant.
The
Yes,
constant.
think of it, it is like noise, you know, and if you get used to shutting out some of the background noises, then you're clearer and more focused on what you can do, and you're also more able to notice when that noise comes in again,
Yeah.
so that you can counteract
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, simply, you know, I mean, if someone's chronically ill, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, on a day-to-day basis, if you're working in an environment where you've got computers everywhere or something like that, then, you know, the thing to do is to make sure, the simplest thing is to make sure you have a shower when you get in.
Yeah.
Because water will do that.
Mm. Mm.
Water will break, will
And the
degas.
easiest physical things that you can have in a space are ionizers,
Yeah.
as long as they're cleaned regularly so they don't get inefficient because of dust.
Yeah.
And water feature fountain thingies, although they've got electric motors, which is a bit
Yeah.
self-defeating, but at least the water, the moving water, or leave a tap running, the water tends to remove positive ions from the air and
Yeah.
increases negative ions,
Yeah.
which helps
Yeah.
us.
Which is interesting because that's an old classic feng shui thing, isn't it? But, you know,
Mm.
you have your water feature, you know. But
Yeah.
you know, you suddenly realise that some of these ancient ways of dealing with things are actually,
Right.
although they didn't have all the electrics that we have now.
Yeah. Next question. So you can read about people who say, right, I've had some let's say a generator or something
Yeah.
in the house, or
Yeah.
it's the power station or
Yeah,
whatever.
next door.
And
Yeah,
they built
Yeah.
sort of
yeah.
crystal defences.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do they work? And if so, how would you go about it?
I wouldn't build a crystal defence,
Right.
but I mean, in my time,
Yeah.
I have done this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And it comes under the heading of geobiology. That's
Right.
what I learned. I did a part of my health kinesiology was a whole chunk on geobiology.
Mm.
And the first thing to do about power station is don't move to a house next door to a power station,
Yeah.
you know, or whatever. You know, but people do.
Mm.
And there's one client in particular I can think of. One of the first things to do would be to on the wall closest to the substation. Things like aluminium foil is quite good.
Right.
You can, I mean, I don't know if it's available in this country, but in Sweden they sell paint which is particularly made to shields from electromagnetic.
Yeah.
Right.
So it is possible, but aluminium foil will do it.
Right.
You know, always, you know, it's a bit fiddly, but it's so effective.
So like on that wall, if it
On
was,
that wall.
if it was out there on the wall
Yeah.
facing it,
Yeah.
then it would, you would put aluminium foil inside.
Based once a week.
Yeah.
Based-
Based once a week.
Based once
Yeah.
a week.
Yeah, basically stick it inside and stick wallpaper on top, basically.
Right.
But there's other ways. I mean, but they're the sort of things that actually we probably should do a course on it. You know, I've done things like using copper rods.
Yeah.
And you know, and once you can dowse or you can muscle test, it's fairly easy, knowing that it's a possibility to use things like copper rods. to actually deflect the energy.
I mean, crikey, I only did mine as visualisation.
Yeah, I was saying.
I was gonna
Look at the trouble that caused.
Yeah, but if the trouble is with visualisation is it's not it's active.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it's a case of needing protection and support.
Yeah.
So the same things that we'll do for other sorts of protections will
do
also
that.
work for electromagnetic.
Yeah. This particular house, the problem was that there was somebody who was chronically ill and bedbound.
Right.
So it was like all the stops, pulling everything out.
So obviously the aluminium actually is a very sensible thing to do. It's probably cheaper than going out buying half a ton of tourmaline. Yeah.
Yeah, but the trouble, I think tourmaline would be good, but then again, it's going to get tired.
Right.
And you'd have to keep washing it and what have you. Yeah,
So it's possible.
It's possible. I think. Yeah.
And the thing is, one of the simplest methods for chronic build-up of static electricity, which is an inaccurate term, but it's a term that everybody understands for non-wired electricity, is that plastic buckets of salt water will do.
Yeah, and if it's really, really bad...
Some of the plastic buckets,
not metal buckets. If it's really, really bad, the salt water will bubble.
Wow.
Yeah, I've had clients who had a really bad thing going on, and she put buckets, and that's how we cleared the space of the residual energy.
Okay, because I think because that
Does
thing
that
goes.
absorb it then?
Yeah.
Because if you put the fluorescent bulbs underneath those power lines and they fizz, it will have that same effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because the field is the fields around any electrically active thing extend a long way from the object.
Yeah.
But the major problem is that when something that is conductive enters the field wraps itself around it, so that it increases the field strength.
Yeah.
So an expert may say, "Oh, well, this is safe because it is only da 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 da."
Yeah, but
they are not measuring it when you're sitting in a car or having something that actually the field wraps around and doubles the field strength.
Right. Okay.
So this is the trouble with ambient fields, is that anything that conducts
a human being,
the field will wrap around and increase its strength.
Yeah.
So hence that's why things like metal tables on nylon carpeted floors in air-conditioned offices
full of
computers tend to be quite a death trap for building up. those, that would be a solution.
Yeah. But it is. It's when you think about it. The modern office block scenario is an absolute.
Because you've got a concrete building with steel girders, and usually lifts going up and down a metal shaft, which
creates a field in itself anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question. So, you've got lodestone that you could wear, for example, black tourmaline that you could wear, things that support you.
It's the same back into ordinary support. You've got your crystals.
And particularly looking at grounding things, because that has energetically grounding the excess energy, so that whatever's in the environment, it doesn't adhere to you. It flows through.
So, throwing it in at this point, there are various devices on the market that claim to do geopathics or claim to do electromagnetics, all protect you at the same time. So, what's the feelings around those?
A lot of those tend to be resin based with
bits of
metal in them, and they tend to be like a jamming signal.
They disperse.
I
mean, over the years, we've only found the imploded water devices to be consistently work for most people and least expensive. Some of the other things, pendants, whatever they are, £100 plus. They tend to work fairly well for a lot of people for electromagnetics. And of course, also because they work on the water in the body, they strengthen the water in the body as well. So you're actually you've got two bits on the go. So they tend to be, and of course, it's back to the support stuff. Crystals, bits of wood, whatever you think helps to strengthen your energy.
It all comes down to those things may support for a bit, they don't tend to always be beneficial in the long run, because they are just masking rather than sorting.
It's crutching it again.
Yeah.
I mean, they are supporting. I mean, there are some things you can buy for houses that are definite maskers.
Yeah.
In other words, they just mean that you don't feel it, but you're actually still in it.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure about that. I mean, because you still get, you know what I mean? It's like they're not actually getting rid of it, or they're not transmuting it.
Yeah.
They're just like painting it a different colour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, I mean, and there are. I mean, crystals actually have a pretty good track record for this sort of stuff.
Something.
But of course, you're looking at the not pretty ones.
Something I read in one of Jane Donald Reed's books, where she sort of like did investigation of this, and she said one of the things that she found was that because the manufacturers of these devices don't have a common agreement about what energy is, you know, it's very hard to compare them, because you know what one person's idea of geopathic stress is different to another. So you're not actually quite sure what the devices actually do.
Yeah. And that was interesting, because once you have it, as when I was learning my geobiology, they actually got taken to places, and your body was taught this is what this particular geopathic stress is, given a name. This is what this is what this is. So your body starts to differentiate between the various different ones.
Yeah.
And one of the things I found, that most of the devices in houses that people bought actually didn't actually work against the things that they were bought for.
Yeah.
And this is what Jane, because I mean, we found, and this is what we found as collectively, if you like, as educators. So you start to get quite a jaundiced view of a lot of the stuff on the market.
Yeah.
Because basically, like she says, you need to know what you're protecting against before you create something to protect against it.
Yeah. And then that takes us back to crystals, because A, they're cheaper than the devices.
Yes.
They're probably more reliable.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I found with the devices as well is the claim of, and then you can't give it to anybody else. It tunes itself to your particular...
BS.
Yeah. But it's a nice marketing ploy.
Yeah.
So it's the fact of, you bought this, but you can't share it with anybody, because it instantly becomes attuned to yours.
Yeah. I mean, it's like here. I mean, I'm sat at my computer here most of the day. Next door's Wi-Fi. It's just through the wall. But like here, I've got... somewhere.
For the tape, that was
a Priscelli egg. And
a triple imploded water spiral.
Yeah. So I sit on that, and if I'm feeling a little bit
program.
Yeah, I've got computer clear on my computer,
right,
which actually stops my computer giving out crap,
right,
but makes it give out nice things. Costs about 30 quid.
Yeah.
So it's worth it. Yeah, so because I know I spend a lot of time, so I do that. So and you notice the difference. You don't get tired.
Yeah.
You know,
and that is actually something that we've also found, is that, for example, when they work with the lodestone, the initial experience can be quite, I feel weird and distorted and I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
And then if they go through that, they think, I feel a lot better. But that initial...
It's that initial, because as your body's like getting itself disentrained.
Yeah.
This is the problem, like we've got kids with their Xboxes, you know, or even the mobile phones. You take the phone away initially, and the anger is okay, they haven't got the thing to play with, but there also is that... because the energy's changed.
Yeah. It becomes like a dummy, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it's like, it takes a while for that to get through that, and actually think, well, actually, I'm going with it.
Yeah. So when you're actually working with people, it's like, don't worry, go with it. I know it's uncomfortable.
Well, it's a bit like being addicted to a drug. It's just you're addicted to energy. Yeah. Different sort of energy.
Is there anything else on the electromagnetics?
All this area is really the caution not to get obsessed.
Yes.
Because if you start obsessing about all the things that can be impinging on your energy purity, then you'll end up in a loony bin.
Yeah, you'll end up
in a nice padded room.
Yes, you'll end up big sections, you know. And the thing is, it's just finding, you know, if you do become sensitive, finding a way to stop sensitivity.
Yeah.
And just finding ways of doing it. Because if you can't find the answer, then ask somebody.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you two don't know, we might know.
Yeah.
And if we don't know, we've got other people we can ask.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's always ask, because somebody somewhere will know a way to do it.
You'll find that you'll tend to have clusters of similar experiences, or clients with similar experiences, and you'll become expert at something rather than something else.
Yeah.
So if you become an expert at this particular area, then you'll be able to deal with it, and you'll be able to deal with it without obsessing about it.
Yeah.
What's a problem with all these areas is that if people have a lot of information but not much knowledge, that's when they become worried and obsessed about the dangers of this and the dangers of that.
There was something on the computer the other day. Somebody was posting about contaminated water, and I emailed back and said, just stop. There's no water on the planet that's not contaminated. You know, get over it.
Yeah.
My dad is,
you know,
his friend works for the water board in London, and they have just done a couple of new boreholes up there, and they were putting fresh water through, and people were complaining because it didn't taste right, so they had to put chemicals in it, like they put in the water that needed the chemicals, just so they would drink it.
Yeah. And it is, and it's like, and people, like say that they get very, very infested. And it's like, you know, step back.
Yeah.
You know.
It's for example, the only times I'll say to people, I really think you should have this stone, is a lodestone.
Yeah.
You know? It's like when they installed the wireless at work, it's like I could have sort of had a card and sort of said no. It's like no, you just
this is it.
You can sort it.
Yeah, you sort yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, and I have done people's houses for them in dire situations. You know, and it doesn't always fix it, because you've got to work the people as well.
Yeah.
But it usually helps. You know, it doesn't necessarily completely fix.
Problem with lodestone is it isn't all that
Pretty.
available sometimes.
Yeah.
We stockpile it.
Yeah.
No, seriously, it's sort of like there's some, we'll buy it.
Yeah.
You know,
I think we did that last time, didn't we? If there's some, we saw it and bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't come around that often, but you know, it's such a because compared to devices, it's cheap. It really does work.
We have some really nice bits that have been polished as well. They were lush.
Yeah. Actually, you can get it now. Easier on the neck, can't you?
Yeah. But I mean, it's the same old thing, isn't it? You know, it's like not pretty, so it becomes really hard to get, and yet, you know, like with a lot of stones you use as a therapist, you know, it's the ugly ones that that actually do the business.
Yeah, and also one of the things we notice is, you know, one of the lodestones layouts or techniques could come up in a you know when you're doing a show as one of the things that, you know, there's the moon net or the amethyst net or when working out the electromagnetics as well. Comes up quite a lot. So having a lodestone indicate is
it's important.
Is important.
Yeah.